Our next reader is a fine young man from Las Vegas, New Mexico. Drove all the way up here in risking hail and God knows what else to get here. He's got several books up here. His latest one, Underground Sky, and got a CD as well. And he's a damn good guy. Mike. Yeah, Mike. Good old Mike. John Macker. For $5 a year.
Thank you. Thank Mike for inviting me. I guess we're going to do this again tomorrow night?
Yeah.
In Denver?
We're having so much fun.
Yeah. Todd Moore. This is about Todd, right?
Basically.
He was an Albuquerque poet. Died a couple of years ago. Good man. He, like Rain Dog said, he created an entire mythos and literature around the gangster Dillinger. And like you said, about 900 pages. It's been published by the small press since the 1970s. And it's unusual, totally unique stuff, whether it's your cup of tea or not. It's just, it's great stuff. My contribution is in this book, to that anthology, which is a very fine anthology, by the way, with a lot of great distinctive voices in it. This is from the Underground Sky section of this book. This is called Crossing. This is for Todd Moore. He sits outside smoking. Let me preface that. One thing about Todd, I got to tell you a little anecdote. One thing about Todd, when I was putting together a book I did a few years ago called Adventures in the Gun Trade. It was a book about Billy the Kid, Cochise, and Rambo. And I said, how do I put all these disparate parts together? Todd, I'm lost. I was speaking to him on the phone one night late. And I said, I've got a screenplay, I've got prose, I've got poems, this is a real mess. And he said, what you do? He says, you just pray to the muse. She says, you bundle all your papers up and you throw them up in the sky and let them fall to the ground, and then you gather them up. And that sequence that you gather up, that's your book, man. Yeah. And I said, all right, okay. So I lit a candle and did a smudge stick and drank a couple of cervezas. And I did that thing in my living room, and I scared the dogs, and I put it together, and I did this, and that was the final form for the book. It made perfect, coherent sense. Much more coherent than I could have ever made it. So thank you, Todd, for that. So this is for Todd. This is called Crossing. He sits outside, smoking, drinking, and breathing in the coarse, sweet smell of the Aztec earth. It is pitch black Mexico, the hard, pure universe of night and death. Mangus coloradas, imperfect winter tool of the gods, astride a good pony, the rare snow last night spitballed sideways, frosted the organ pipe. Each flake disappeared in his hand before it could declare its individuality. A brittle irony not lost on the aged chief. Soon, despite the hoarseness and dust furies of the droughtscape, it'll be time to harvest the macho dark magic of the mezcal, each eastern slope of the Chiricahuas. And just north of the border, oblivion rhymes with vermilion, and not a soul was caught in the living act of crossing. Just the winter-wired coyotes, and now in his 70s, dreams of one last score, riding off some Fronteras Rancheria's renegade Remuda in the dark, because revenge this week must be Mexican, must taste mezcal bitter on the tongue, and the dusk glows saffron as the earth rotates lustily into hard shadow. This is called Love Song to a Turkey Vulture. They're ubiquitous in New Mexico. And if you don't make a friend, then they just ruin your life. Turkey Vulture, you have a piece of my heart. You disassemble by the highway in the morning what was living the night before in the desert. I admire your disgusting elegance from afar. Your displeasure is mine. And you rearrange the molecular structure of the universe by purifying the imperfect, the flattened, the condemned. You are the fastidious shredder of all things impure.
Yeah.
I am not in your league. You devoured Prometheus' liver with noisy bravado. And I have conversations with you when any human would do, but not necessarily what any human would do. And when I see you flat-winged soaring against blue sky over the dead or the near dead with no particular attitude, I hear Taj Mahal, mariachi, narco corridos in my head where there was once only silence. I know you prefer to see, come hell or high water, Coyote crawl across Texas on his knees like Jesus' son to be worthy of your leftovers. But to those of us on earth about to die in 5 minutes or 50 years, we salute you. Thank you. I'll read from this little bit older book, a book before this one called Woman of the Disturbed Earth. And since I'm up here, I was raised in Denver. I went up here for 1 year. I had a good time. Thank God my sister and brother-in-law fed me most every night, so I didn't starve. Anyway, a guy who taught up here for a long time, although I didn't really wasn't aware of him then, was Ed Dorn. And he became subsequently kind of a hero of mine, and then I encountered him in person several times in Denver and elsewhere, and what a great man, great spirit. His probably famous group of small press books were published under the title of Gunslinger. And so today I saw an apparition of Ed Dorn, the poet, at the crossing of Plaza Fatima and Delgado Streets, reading a copy of Laughing Horse, hovering right there over the arroyo, where one day soon the lilacs will bloom. He shot 3 dusty fingers of commemorativo and blue smoke rings into the mind's eye of American poetry. And he was thin-hipped, weathered, tombstone inscription of a face, side-burned, sunburnt, bardacious, lit up a bomber, and regaled me with verse accounts of that broiling slab of planet Apacheria, so close to our bleeding hearts. Its dust dervishes, parched surrealism, skull-covered ring poems, and mesas quivering above the withdrawing sun. Echoes of native spirit and flesh dissolving into the moods of twilight's soft edge, slinging prayers of dreaming wolf mind, standing on those rock outcroppings with their ecumenical view of the earth. He regaled me with the obligations of the divine. And I peered at Ed through the smoke, his feet barely touching the Camino, and he hallucinated for me a rogue geography, where peoples of the earth aren't herded into boxcars and immured in Dachau or Florida or Guantanamo Bay, where peace is as requisite as the rain, where Whitman's poetics can't be squared with military strategy in Afghanistan, and where you can read a gunslinger's metaphysics as you would a book. And from La Jolla to the North Atlantic, you can share a boisterous spleef with a laughing horse, where you can walk, bask in the diurnal rhythms of life, and make extraterrestrial love with every faith on earth, and watch the archaic dust lather your boots, and create campfire shamans out of your two-coiled, dreaming dogs. One last poem. Since we're tributing Todd and Ed, and I'd like to, one more for Ted Berrigan. Ted Berrigan's a great guy, great funny man, just a great poet. How many of you familiar with his sonnets? It's great stuff. Yeah. He had a poem called Code of the West, and I just riffed off of it a little bit. This is for Ted Berrigan, and it's kind of in a sonnet form. Your Code of the West is not the same as mine. You, Ted, you are all Oklahoma, Manhattan, party, Pepsi, cowboy, true rumbling gut, Christmas on the Apollinaire streets. And codes are like sonnets. The truth is so elusive, it takes pills every morning just to be seen. Great seeing you, Ted. You aren't dead, you're hibernating, while every winter your poems paw through the snow looking for berries. My code of the West, however, is as follows. 1. Every saloon girl is fair game unless she's your sister. 2. Hair shirts are for sissies. 3. Guns are to be belittled and then planted every spring. 4. A saddle is as good as a sonnet to a blind horse. 5. When you ask death for its credentials, you are dead. William S. Burroughs. Number 6. By 1918, 20,000 British men of military age refused the draft. Hence, more bodies for World War II. 7. Riding alone across the desert on a blind horse, if you encounter an angel wearing chaps, it'll be Ted Barry. 8. A sonnet is as good as a junior sheriff's posse badge to a blind cowboy. 9. Calamity Jane is a sympathetic muse. 10. Hands up! 11. If they move, kill them. And one last one. Thank you very much. You've been really generous. This is called, I went through a period of time where I was into Antoine Artaud, Theater of Cruelty. And no, I'm not going to read that one.
That's too serious, man. Don't you have something funny?
Leave him laughing.
Something about your mother?
Something about reading Dog's mother.
That's it. Okay, this is the last one. It's called What the Scalp Hunter Said. This is a book about, part of it's a book about the Apache. Apache chiefs. A fifth of tequila helps you with finite, faster than love or fate. Mezcal is like happily marching into hell with scorpions lighting your way.